Hello and a very warm welcome to yet another edition of World Panorama, the show that gives you a 360-degree view of the events that shape your world. I am Sana Khan. Before we move ahead, here's a look at the top stories this week. The friction between Pakistan government and army is out in the open. The threat of a coup looms large while US maintains distance. Malaysian High Court acquits opposition leader Anwar Ibrahim. Supporters say it's a victory of democracy. Mitt Romney's victory run continues after Iowa and New Hampshire. All eyes on South Carolina primaries. And will Andy Murray be third time lucky? The young Brit starts his Australian Open campaign on a high after winning Brisbane International. Those were the top stories this week. Although a lot has been happening world over, the spotlight doesn't seem to shift from Pakistan. Pakistan's civilian government is under immense pressure from the army leadership and the Supreme Court as fears loom large over the stability of the country. What is going on in Pakistan? What's the conflict about? Is another coup in the making, or will there be a compromise? To discuss this and more, I'm joined in by Dr. Ashok Behuria, Fellow of the Institute of Defence Studies and Analysis in the studio. Welcome to the show, sir. Before we get to that, we have this special report for you from Pakistan. The Pakistani government, it seems, is on a self-destruction path. Tall claims of the civilian government calling the army a national asset just a few months back are crumbling down. With the civilian government being pushed into a corner, all eyes are now on the army and what will be its next move. Here are all the developments.
हम कब फौज के साथ नहीं खड़े रहे पहले
आर्मी चीफ को अपना टेन्योर पूरा करना है.
The political crisis in Pakistan has reached a point of no return. A direct confrontation between the army and the government looks inevitable and threatens to undermine the nation's political stability. The row reached a flashpoint after Prime Minister Yusuf Raza Gilani sacked Defence Secretary Lieutenant General retired Naeem Khalid Lodi, who is considered close to the military, a development that has raised fears of a coup.
Before the statement, Army Chief did talk to me.
About the ISPR statement से पहले.
Statement से पहले.
तो क्या बात हुई सर? क्या बात हुई?
वो यही था कि ये जो clarification मैंने कहा करना चाहें तो कर लो.
Pakistan's military chief General Ashfaq Parvez Kayani met top commanders this week in a bid to put pressure on the government over the Memogate scandal. The memo that pitted the army against President Asif Ali Zardari's government is now under Supreme Court scrutiny. The government could go if Zardari's link to the memo is established. The Supreme Court and the government are already on a collision course, with the court calling Prime Minister Gilani dishonest and dishonorable on Wednesday. Amidst increasing fears of a military coup, President Zardari left for Dubai on Thursday on a private visit. However, Prime Minister Gilani went into damage control mode and said that the government's relations with the military were fine.
देखें ये बताएं कि हम कब फौज के साथ नहीं खड़े रहे पहले. हमेशा हमने साथ दिया है, मगर जहां रूल्स ऑफ बिजनेस की बात होगी तो वहां वायलेशन नहीं होनी चाहिए.
But the government has assured that no action will be taken against the army chief just yet.
आर्मी चीफ को अपना टेन्योर पूरा करना है. जो उनको टेन्योर दिया गया है वो टेन्योर पूरा करेगा और हम अदारों का टकराव नहीं चाहते.
Meanwhile, opposition parties are demanding Zardari's resignation and want early polls to be held.
हम तैयारी कर रहे हैं 16 को अगर किसी किस्म की अदालत के ऊपर वारदात हुई, तहरीक इंसाफ बाकी जितने भी लाइक माइंडेड लोग हैं उनको साथ मिलाएगी. हम पाकिस्तान की सड़कों के ऊपर होंगे.
Experts, however, say there is no immediate threat to the government. The court will reconvene on January 16th when it will hear arguments from the Attorney General.
Let me get in Dr. Behuria at this point to understand what is exactly going on in Pakistan. Dr. Behuria, if you could help us understand what's the political situation and how do you see it developing in the days to come? It's very fluid at this point.
I think Pakistan is a country which doesn't fail to surprise you again and again. And now civil-military tension is out in the open. And thanks to this memo-get controversy and the proactive stance by the judiciary, I think judiciary is going to play a very critical role now. And if we look at Muhammad Iftikhar Chaudhary, who is the Chief Justice,
right,
who is very, is kind of an activist Chief Justice, he is looking to me as a racehorse with blinders. He's now terribly focused on Zardari government. So in that sense, I think Zardari government finds itself cornered. Actually, I would say that, at the moment, all these institutions are coming back to their own limits. They have discovered their threshold. They are coming back to their limits. And I don't think, there will be an immediate clash between the civilian government and the military, because that is what holds the key to stability in Pakistan. But on 16th of January, when we are going to hear out Mansoor Ijaz, then we'll get to see another drama unfolding. If the judiciary comes hard on the civilian establishment, then we will have political stability, but that instability will be of a different order.
Okay.
But if there will be problem between the civilian government and the military, then that would have led to a greater instability in Pakistan politics.
Dr. Maurya, hold on to that thought. We'll come back to you in just a bit. Let's just talk more about the situation in Pakistan. The US has had to react. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton said that the US wanted Pakistan to resolve its internal issues in a manner that upholds the country's law and constitution while asserting its commitment to a democratically elected government. Clinton's comments came at a time when Pakistan's civilian government has locked horns with the powerful military over the memo scandal, sparking off speculations of a possible coup. Let's listen to what she said.
We obviously have expressed a lot of concerns about what we see happening inside Pakistan. It has been our position to stand strongly in favor of a democratically elected civilian government, which we continue to do. And we expect Pakistan to resolve any of these internal issues in a just and transparent manner that upholds the Pakistani laws and constitution.
So will it be a coup or a compromise? As the Pakistan government sees itself hurtling towards turmoil, political establishment has once again locked horns with the army. Pakistan is reeling under severe political crisis. World Panorama brings you closer to ground reality as an average Pakistani shares his fears in this first of its kind open sparring between the army and the government.
Pakistan government looks dangerously isolated in the fresh confrontation with the country's powerful military and even judiciary. No matter who emerges victorious in the pitched battle, but an average Pakistani fears that the country's democratic setup will eventually be the casualty.
An unconstitutional move जो भी होगी वो गलत होगी, वो मुल्क को इंस्टेबिलिटी की तरफ लेके जाएगी, वो मुल्क में और ज़्यादा मसाइल पैदा करेगी. पाकिस्तान तो और बहुत सारे मसाइल से पहले ही शिकार है. पाकिस्तान मुझे ये लगता है कि शायद अल्लाह ना करे इस तरह की कैफियत हो कि अगर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन को फॉलो ना किया गया तो यहाँ पे सिचुएशन बहुत बुरी हो जाएगी.
Some believe this is the right time for a change in leadership, and the incumbent Pakistan People's Party should pave way for a new dispensation.
मैं तो ये समझता हूँ कि डेमोक्रेसी बिल्कुल हर हाल में रहनी चाहिए, लेकिन जो मौजूदा सूरत हाल चल रही है गवर्नमेंट के दरमियान और अदलिया के दरमियान, तो बेहतर है कि गवर्नमेंट अपनी जो है रिज़ाइन कर दे और किसी दूसरी गवर्नमेंट को आने का मौका दे.
While many want Supreme Court to take lead and defuse the crisis.
चीफ जस्टिस साहब बहुत अच्छे आदमी हैं. चीफ जस्टिस का काम नहीं है लोगों को गर्दन से पकड़ के उतारना. हाँ, चीफ जस्टिस साहब एक काम कर सकते हैं. चीफ जस्टिस साहब फौज को आर्डर दे सकते हैं कि इस करप्ट हुकूमत को कानून से पकड़ के किक आउट करें.
तो आर्मी को आगे डिमोरलाइज किया जा रहा है, और जो अमेरिका भी जो चाह रहा है, जिस तरह बड़ी कुफ्ते चाह रही है कि हमारी फौज को डिमोरलाइज किया जाए, मेरा नहीं ख्याल है कि आर्मी कैसे को टेक ओवर करेगी. और ये थ्रू सुप्रीम कोर्ट का जो फैसला है उसी के तहत ही सारा कुछ होगा.
Pakistanis will have an eye on how the political class, army and judiciary diffuse the current crisis and bring back Pakistan from the brink of collapse.
People in Pakistan clearly worried by the political instability that exists in the nation. Dr. Behuria, what do you think? Is this political instability here to stay for long, or do you see the crisis being diffused in the days to come?
I think this instability is likely to continue because now you have Senate elections scheduled for March, and the opposition doesn't want the Senate elections to happen, because they are saying that if Senate elections will be held in time, then Jardari's party will have a majority there. So they want to scuttle that election as well. So all this political turmoil that is going on in Pakistan, basically you'd look at it as different political forces hedging their bets. Basically they are trying to trump each other. Right. But I wouldn't say that it will lead to a coup at the moment. I would say that maybe by March, maybe after the elections are over, the government itself may look for a midterm election. Okay. And that is what most of these political actors are talking about. Right. But I don't think, unless and until the government takes some really nasty step, the army is going to get in. Because the situation is so bad, there is political instability, the economic condition is worsening day by day. At this juncture, the army wouldn't like to step in.
Okay, that's a very valid point that you made. But going back to Hillary Clinton's reaction coming in, what do you have to say about the way US is trying to stay away from what's happening in Pakistan? Till how long can US afford to stay away? Do you see US intervening in the days to come?
I don't think US will intervene in a negative way this time. Okay. They are looking forward to stability in Pakistan, especially when they're pulling out their troops from Afghanistan. So they wouldn't like Pakistan to be politically unstable. Okay. So in that sense, US, I would say, will try to act as a sanitizing force rather than a destabilizing force.
Okay, so that's clearly what's needed in Pakistan. On that note, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Behuria, for joining us today and sharing your thoughts on the show with us. Time for a very short break. We will talk about the US elections on the other side and Mitt Romney's back-to-back wins in just a minute. Do stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching World Panorama. Malaysia's opposition leader Anwar Ibrahim has been acquitted of sodomy charges by the country's High Court. He was let off due to insufficient evidence, capping almost a 2-year-long trial. The trial had Malaysia riveted and was rumored as being a government setup to cripple the Anwar-led opposition. This was also the second sodomy verdict in a dozen years for Ibrahim. Here's more on the verdict and its likely impact in the days to come.
Malaysia's opposition leader Anwar Ibrahim was cleared of sodomy charges on Monday. Amid tight security, the High Court judge took just 3 minutes to deliver the judgment to a packed courthouse, finding him not guilty of sodomizing his former aide, 26-year-old Mohammed Saif al-Bukhari. If convicted, Anwar could have faced a 20-year jail term.
I'm finally vindicated. It is a tough few years for us, and to all my friends, party leaders of Keadilan PAS and DAP who are here. We have shown so much solidarity and support that I can expect more from them.
Anwar Ibrahim has been imprisoned before on similar charges, but let off in 2004 following an appeal. His supporters see the verdict as a victory for democracy.
We came here to witness the process of democracy. The outcome of the Anwar trial shows that this is the beginning of democratic progress in Malaysia.
The verdict has not only made the government breathe easy, but will also let Anwar concentrate on the upcoming elections.
Focus on the next general elections because we want the reform agenda, we want independent judiciary, no perception of worry, concern, free media, rid the country of endemic corruption.
And the elections could be held as early as March if Prime Minister Najib Razak has his way. The reason for calling an early election is that Razak wants to be ahead of UMNO's internal elections, slated for the second half of this year. the party's internal polls could tilt against Najib as he is seen as too lenient. The PM is also mindful that he is likely to lose votes in a weakening global economy that will eventually take its toll on Malaysia's export-led growth.
Tracking other news, an Iranian court has sentenced an American of Iranian descent to death for spying for the CIA. Amir Mirza Hekmati has been charged with cooperating with a hostile nation, being a member of the CIA and trying to implicate in terrorism. The sentence comes at a time when tensions between Iran and the West are on the rise over Tehran's nuclear program.
A court in Iran sentenced Iranian-American Amir Mirza Hekmati to death on charges of spying for the CIA this week. Under the country's Islamic law, espionage is punishable by death. Hekmati, a 28-year-old of Iranian descent, was arrested in December. Iran's intelligence ministry accused him of receiving training at US bases in Afghanistan and Iraq.
When they found out that I spoke a bit of Arabic and a bit of Farsi, they said that we would like to send you to a university to learn Arabic.
Iranian officials also say Hekmati has admitted to having links to the CIA but claimed that he had no intentions of harming Iran.
We can start you off working, and if you're successful at this mission, we can train you further. We can give you other missions and you will travel more. This mission requires that you travel to Iran. They asked me, are you ready to undertake this mission? I said, I'm ready. I was told you would become a source for Iran's Ministry of Intelligence. You'll go there for 3 weeks and hand these documents over. You'll be given some money for this in return.
The United States, on its part, denies that Hekmati is a spy for the country and has called for his immediate release. Washington says Hekmati has been denied access to Swiss diplomats who represent US interests in Iran. The US shut down its missions in Iran after its embassy was stormed in 1979.
In US elections, Mitt Romney took a crucial step toward Republican presidential nomination as he scored a solid victory in New Hampshire. Romney may now find it easier to convince skeptics that he is the party's best choice to take on Democratic President Barack Obama on the 6th of November. Former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney took a major step toward winning the Republican Party's presidential nomination with a convincing victory in the New Hampshire presidential primary. An excited Romney thanked his supporters for the win.
Thank you, New Hampshire. Tonight we made history. This state has always been a very special place for our family. Ann and I have made a home here. We filled it with great memories of our children, our grandchildren.
Romney outpaced rivals with 39% votes. Ron Paul came a distant second with 24% of the votes. Meanwhile, Joan Huntsman drew 17%, Newt Gingrich and Rick Santorum took nearly 10% each, with Rick Perry taking just under 1%.
I believe that it will take someone who is capable of debating Barack Obama face to face, delivering the conservative message, winning the argument in order to overcome his billion-dollar machine.
Faith in the American people. We can not only wipe out this deficit, we can not only rebuild this economy, we can not only have a strong America who stands up for the values that I just talked about, but we can do so in a huge victory.
The primaries battle moves to South Carolina next, and Romney has already set the tone, urging the voters to make 2012 the year that Obama's presidency runs out of time.
The president has run out of ideas. Now he's running out of excuses. Tonight we're asking the good people of South Carolina to join the citizens of New Hampshire and make 2012 the year he runs out of time. President Obama wants to put free enterprise on trial. And in the last few days, we've seen some desperate Republicans join forces with him.
As the campaign moves south, Romney can expect intensified attacks from the rivals. Victories in South Carolina on January 21st and Florida 10 days later could all but ensure that Romney will capture the nomination, and sooner rather than later. Time to take a very short break here. Lots more lined up on the other side. A car bomb kills an Israeli nuclear scientist in Tehran this week. Why the scientist's death is so important is coming up in just a bit. Welcome back. Time to take a look at what else made news this week across the world. First up, a car bomb killed an Israeli nuclear scientist and injured 2 in Tehran on Wednesday. This attack is the latest in a series of apparent attacks on Iranian scientists linked to the country's disputed nuclear program. The bomb explosion killed Mustafa Ahmadi Roshan, a chemistry expert and a director of the Natanz uranium enrichment facility in central Iran. The killing of Roshan was similar to previous assassinations of Iranian nuclear scientists that Tehran has blamed on Israel and the United States. Both countries have denied the accusations. Iran denies Western suspicions that its nuclear program has military goals, saying it is for purely peaceful purposes. There was no immediate word from Israeli officials, though Israel has always declined commenting on such bombings in Iran in the past. A bomb killed at least 29 people and wounded 37 others on Tuesday when it exploded near a fuel station in Pakistan's northwestern Khyber region. The blast occurred in Jamrud Bazar, around 25 kilometers west of Peshawar. Eyewitnesses say the blast was huge and caused extensive damage to a number of vehicles at a bus terminal. The wounded were then taken to hospitals in Jamrud and Peshawar. No group has claimed responsibility for the attack so far. Pakistani forces have targeted militants in Khyber region, including the Pakistani Taliban, on and off for more than 4 years now. Tuesday's bombing is the first major one of its kind this year. Also earlier this week, French President Nicolas Sarkozy held a meeting with International Monetary Fund Chief Christine Lagarde in Paris. The meeting was part of a series that Lagarde is holding at the start of the new year as Europe tries to get a grip on its 2-year-old sovereign debt crisis. Lagarde met with German Chancellor Angela Merkel in Berlin as well regarding this. Lagarde made no comments, though, after the meeting with the French president. European leaders will now be holding another summit this month to try and resolve the crisis which threatens the survival of the single currency 10 years after it went into circulation. Angela Merkel and French President Nicolas Sarkozy met to discuss boosting growth and jobs in crisis-hit Eurozone and also warned Greece to speed up debt restructuring. And Joran van der Sloot, an alleged suspect in the unsolved disappearance of U.S. student in the Caribbean, pleaded guilty on Wednesday to the 2010 murder of a young Peruvian woman during a closely watched trial in this city. Sloot admitted in Peruvian court that he killed 21-year-old Stephanie Flores in a hotel room in Lima on the 30th of May 2010 after meeting her at a casino. Natalie Holloway went missing in 2005 while on a graduation trip to the Caribbean island of Aruba. She was last seen leaving a nightclub with van der Sloot and 2 other men. Van der Sloot was arrested twice but never charged in connection with Holloway's disappearance. With that, time to gear up for some sports action in our next segment. First up, teenage Pakistan fast star Mohammad Amir serving 6 months in jail for spot fixing. Elements of a test match could still have a future in international cricket. Pakistan Cricket Board Chairman Zaka Ashraf informed the media on Tuesday. At the same time, Pakistan captain Misbah-ul Haq laid stress on the matches ahead and getting past the match-fixing scandals that Pakistan has been dogged with. Misbah faced a grilling from British media in Dubai on Tuesday ahead of the 3-game series, which starts on the 17th of January. Amir, along with his teammates Mohammad Asif and Salman Butt, were banned for a minimum of 5 years by International Cricket Council in February last year. Over to tennis, Andy Murray faces testing Australian Open draw. A ruthless Andy Murray powered his way to a 6-1, 6-3 win over injury-hampered Alexander Dolgopolov to win the Brisbane International on Sunday before that and take a timely shot of confidence ahead of the Australian Open. Murray won an enthralling quarter-final in 4 sets over the Ukrainian at Melbourne Park last year, but the rematch at Pat Rafter Arena fell flat with a grimacing Dolgopolov dragging an injured right leg around the court. The Scotsman showed him little sympathy there, however, running his ponytailed opponent ragged with sweetly stuck shots into the corners to wrap up the match in 66 minutes. Now, Andy Murray faces the prospect of having to beat world number 1 and defending champion Novak Djokovic if he is to reach a third successive Australian Open final. Over to golf now. Steve Striker recovered from a surprisingly slow start to clinch his 12th PGA Tour victory by 3 shots at the season opening tournament of champions in Hawaii on Monday. 5 strokes in front going into the final round, Striker had his lead trimmed to just 1 early on the front 9 before he regained control with 5 birdies in the last 11 holes. The American world number 6, the highest ranked player in the elite winners only field of 27 at the Kapula Resort, closed with a 4-under par 69 to post a 23-under total of 269. While Britain's Martin Laird birdied 5 of the last 7 holes for a 67 to finish alone in second place. Argentina and Barcelona forward Lionel Messi won the World Player of the Year award for the 3rd time in a row. Real Madrid's Portuguese forward Cristiano Ronaldo was second in the vote for 2011 FIFA Ballon d'Or, and Messi's Barcelona teammate Xavi came third. Messi swept home with 47.88% of votes in the survey among national team coaches, captains and selected media. Messi, who inspired his Spanish team to win the Champions League, La Liga and Club World Cup, was also first last year when the award was created by joining together the separate annual prizes handed out by FIFA and France Football magazine. At the ceremony, he dedicated the award to his Barcelona teammates, particularly Xavi. And with that, we have come to the end of the show. This is me, Sana Khan, signing off. I promise to see you next week, same time, in a brand new episode of World Panorama. We leave you with some visuals from the Detroit Auto Show. Singers, models and sports cars bring the glitz back to the annual show after years of dim displays and hopes. Goodbye.